knock, knock, we're at Iggstock. We're living and it's 25. I said, knock, knock, we're from Iggstock. Did I tell you that we're feeling fine? Whoa, whoa, whoa. Early in the morning, about the break of day. Here comes Ig with the chainsaw my way. Knock, knock, we're at Iggstock, 'cause this is number 25. And we're feeling so alive. Ba-ba-doo-ba.
Something that people went away with wanting to return because it was just the most beautiful experience that they'd ever had.
It was great. It was a treat, and that's why the musicians, they didn't mind not getting paid, and that was the whole deal. It was a music festival for musicians, basically.
After Ig's house burned down in the Great Fire, they lost everything. So Ig proceeded to build a stage for the.
There's other people say love and soul and yada yada yada, but no, it was hardcore camper for me. I'm not a big camper.
And reminisce about the great things that came from 25 years of Iggstock. Way down in Denby town. Oh well, snapping turtles grow so mean.
This was the one time a year I could see 300 people I knew well.
Those snapping turtles look clean, yeah. Poke salad in. The snapper's got your piggy. Chomp, chicka chomp. Everybody said it was a shame because they didn't.
Every year I thought, I am never going again, and every year I showed up. I don't know why people kept going. Maybe it's because you survived and you went, wow, I survived. And mostly it was about the people.
I don't have an interest in festivals. I have an interest in Iggstock. It's not a festival. It's an event that is a state of being.
Every morning at breakfast time, we go down into that swamp where he would pick himself a mess of poke salad, yeah, and he would put it.
You didn't have to be like a big name performer to play at Iggstock. You just had to be somebody with some kind of enthusiasm and could, play an instrument or had a band or whatever.
Everybody said it was a shame because they didn't have insurance on anything. Everybody knew he was a hard worker.
To me, I just thought it was the greatest. And it was the greatest. It was true fun.
You son of my spiggers patch, poke salad in it. Well, the snappers got your piggy, chomp, chicka chomp. Everybody said it was a shame because they didn't have insurance on anything.
True campers. True, absolute true campers. Nothing phases them. Like, they just camp and they just wander around, they have a good time, and they chill.
This was the time of year for you to kind of showcase where you were at as a musician, as well as partying and having a great time and, and sharing with all your friends.
Well, the first live performer I'd ever seen was in Box Grove, of course, because we don't get out much. It was Joe Grant. There was a party going on at some neighbors up the road, and there was some live music, so we snuck up because we were too young to be invited to such things, and snuck up in there and saw what was going on, and it was Ig's brother Joe playing just acoustic guitar. He had a PA set up and everything, and singing songs and funny songs, and I thought, wow, I wish I could do that.
Wondering how a single performer with one acoustic guitar can get into a heavy show like this. My brother Ig, he's got a bulldozer, and he says he's gonna bulldoze the stage if I don't play.
And I remember him as, you know, as a kid kind of showing up from time to time. But I didn't have like a, you know, it was only every once in a while that, you know, I'd see him. It wasn't until he got, you know, quite a bit older that I kind of hooked up with him when we started doing some music together.
My brother Ig, he grew up and he got out of pigs and he got into tractors. And he bought himself an old John Deere 2-cylinder tractor, 2 great big cylinders, each one about that big around. And you'd hear this tractor coming through the bush. And so this song is about Ig's adventures and his first try at living up here and making some money in the woods.
Basically, they got married, and I think Ginny was very young, maybe 16, and Ig was he'd finished university. And they got their tractor, loaded it up, and drove to Denby and lived off the land, really lived off the land for a few years. And then the marriage dissolved, and I don't know, but yeah.
Before they got married, we built this house up there because they were planning to go up and live in Denby, Ig and his wife, Ginny. So we built this house up. At weekends, we'd go up, pour cement, pour the walls with stones, and as Ig's brother Joe used to say, there was a little bit too much beer in the mix sometimes, but that foundation's still standing.
When he got married, he got on a tractor, and him and Ginny, off they went and built a cabin in the woods.
Cars and trucks stand on the photo one, this is not the life for me. I bought an old John Deere tractor, I headed for the North Country. I got a place up at Moxon Lake where there's poplars, spruce and pine. Gonna scoot a few logs, gonna be my own boss, leave the hassle of the city behind. Working hard to get a load on, loading logs out of here. I just spent my last dollar and sipping on my last beer. Some people think I'm crazy, trying to make it back here. If I could only get out one more load, I'd be making it free and clear. Now when you're working up here in the woods, you got the black flies and the horse flies and the deer flies.
Come up every weekend.
Every weekend we did, yeah. And that there was a time period, yeah, where we were up here enough to be building and like building stages and shit houses and stuff in the summer.
In your house, I mean, we built
in the different places.
Ig's on his 3rd house now. We did build 2 already. The house did explode eventually. Ig had hooked up this propane stuff in his home, like propane fridge and lights, and had a fire going. The story was that it exploded because it kind of moved off the foundation.
So this place burnt down. It exploded. The pilot light was bad in our fridge that I put in. Tightened up the insulation, and 2 days later, there was nobody home, and the place blew up.
Yeah,
burnt down.
I had nothing to do with that propane installation at the time. I want that on record. So they were left without anything, and neighbors and his relatives in Denby all got together and built him a new house. I'd go up on weekends and help out, and got that new house, and that was the first year of Iggstock, 81. We started that.
that just was a thing that held speakers. The stage was out here, and it was very small, but that was where it was.
And it went right over to the edge here. It was like, hey, Ig, we had two drum kits up here. Remember Jimmy Hartman's drums?
Jimmy Hartman, yeah, local boy.
I seem to remember it was Ig, Ken, and maybe Andre Howells who had this idea of having a jam in Ig's bush. And so we went up with some gear from Blue Peter and some other stuff we'd borrowed from other people and just had a party with under 100, maybe 50 even.
And people dressed like hippies, and you can see we took an old station wagon, we had signs all over it and stuff.
Took it up there and made it the theme of Woodstock. That's what we called it, Iggstock. So we had everybody, Mike Stonehouse was Jimi Hendrix, and he burnt a guitar on stage. So everybody was dressed up and as some act from Woodstock, and we put together a night of music.
Everybody was going up north, and I couldn't go. I wasn't allowed to. I was too young. I might have been able to go if I really bugged, but I didn't try. Because my parents thought what would go on is what went on.
Well, I just said we were taking LSD, so I mean, the space was pretty fun, actually.
Wow. Thank you. Happy campers.
I mean, I didn't go to the first one, and I thought, you know, like and I heard that it was a lot of fun. It just sounded really silly and campy, and there was a lot of like parody stuff going on, apparently, you know.
And the first year, as I recall, the music was mostly cover songs and sort of dead rock star stuff, like Janis Joplin and Jimi Hendrix.
Did you go to the first one, Harry? 1980?
Yes, I did go here.
Well, the first one, then I heard all the antics and Dave Jodrey dressing up as Jimi Hendrix, and to me this just sounded like a dream. Probably sounded awful. Actually, I got the tape, it doesn't sound that great. Ken Layton practically dominated the whole thing with a 45-minute Neil Young set of us out of tune and singing, you know. It was, but to me, I just thought it was the greatest.
Now look at here. I've just fished a stubby out of the ground.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
So on the very first year, just up behind where we're going was where the stage was. And that was what beer bottles looked like back then.
So then the next year, they had one, they built it, they moved the stage and built another stage, and that's when I went. I still didn't play guitar at this time, when the first couple Iggstocks. Like, I hadn't figured out anything. I think it was about 3 Iggstocks. I was finally watching Bailey up there playing, and I said, I want to do that. I want to be up there. I want to play so bad. I'm going to learn how to play. I'm going to learn how to play.
Tell me, Kev, how did you think of Iggstock? Fun? Wow!
Ken had a really cool spot for people to come and jam, and you know, I remember he made apple cider one year. It had a country cabin kind of feel for me, anyways. That's the way I remember that house in Box Grove.
I idolized Ken. They just had, well, he could jam, and he had the room with the, well, he played guitar and that. I thought he was just great. I would go by and I'd hear him playing on his electric guitar. He never really became that good of a player, but when you don't know how to play, you think he's really, really good. And he had fun. That was the main thing.
We started probably playing together when we were 10 or 11, just goofing about. And by the time we were 15, we were going crazy, writing songs in Kenny's mom's attic.
That was my groovy rooms. You see the crazy paint job I had up in there one time. So, you know, it was great. My mom let me do anything. I had a wood stove up there, so it was like the warmest place in town in the winter, because I had a wood stove right in my room that Ig and I put in. Well, she was just glad that we were there. She wasn't necessarily a free spirit, but she was just glad that we were at home and she could keep an eye on us. So she was all for the music.
But I wanted to do this next one. It's for Cease Layton. In Box Grove, growing up, Cease, Kenny's mom, everybody was allowed to go there, hang and play guitars and drum kits and bass amps, and my mom wouldn't let me do that. Well, we were kids, and you can walk up to another, you always hear music coming out of that house. My brother Kevin used to climb up in the tree and look in the windows watching Lloyd Smith playing guitar. So anyways, when Cease left us, the Box Grove United Church, I've never seen so many people in that church. They were pouring out of the church on the lawns. They were holding each other up at every window around the church. And the minister there said, Cease lived her life like a Jesus. She was a Jesus, accepting all people, all ages, young and the old. And live your life expecting to have this many people at your funeral. It's called Church of Cecilia.
Now Cease's house is right 2 doors up from it. The gray house here.
The doors to the Church of Cecilia always open-minded, regardless of time. Fill the cup with the kind words that heal. Celebrate with the dancers on Saturday night. Was it Jesus that suffered the children?
Everybody, you know, that's Iggstock. One of the cool things about it is that everybody had that common ground. With all the players that graced that stage had all started here. The older kids up here, hearing them jamming, coming out of, you know, seeping out of the windows, and the one horse way here, you're walking up the road and you hear all that, it's like, I want to do that too. You know, so it made me want to pick up the guitar. Come and climb out because the windows, the band used to play up there. Ken and his cronies would go and jam and drums and everything. He'd be up there trying to peek in because first he wasn't allowed to be part of it, and then we started the Bill Monahan, started the Box Grove Bill Monahan jam acoustically, and that's how Kevin and I got in because we were a lot younger at the time. You know, all ages, everybody loves Cease. Everybody knew Cease. When she died, that church, oh my gosh, it was just like there's people on the lawns, people holding people up to the windows to look in. All ages, young kids, old kids, everybody.
Oh yeah, Mom was always helping out. You know. She always loved to go to the gigs, no matter who was playing. You know, any gig, Kim Brown, Kevin Brown, Terry Young. Terry Young was her favorite. You know, she'd always try to. And of course, any gig I played, she always wanted to be there.
Cease was really a really cool woman, and I spent a lot of time hanging out at her place, at Ken's place. You know, when they were all there, when we were all quite young, and she was so open to that. You know, it was really neat.
The nights.
She's the greatest lady probably ever alive. Everybody's mom. I fell in the Rouge River once. We'd go in the spring and ride around on icebergs. Not dressed for the occasion, of course, and I fell off and my hands were purple, and she stuck them in some nice cold water for me that hurt a lot, but she saved me from getting frostbite, and she helped every single kid there, and she let us do what we wanted, and we loved her for it.
So expected nothing while she gave all her pearls. Tell ya, all her pearls.
Using Blue Peter's PA and all their gear. They were very good. Rick was instrumental in getting that for us, but you know, the other guys were, Chris was okay with it. So we got all that gear and generator. And
Chris Pegg, who is the head of our lighting department here, I think he came to me one day and we just started talking about it, and he connected us to do sound for the band. He was the lighting tech for them, and they'd had some failed attempts at audio, and said, we hear you're pretty good and cheap, so come on out.
I was living up in Scarborough. A friend of mine had moved up into Markham. He had joined a band and was jamming with them. I went up and I was jamming with them too, as a flute player. And then that morphed into the band Blue Peter, and I used to go up to Markham all the time, and I sort of plugged into that community a little bit. You're going into a well-established community of people who've known each other since the womb. And they've grown up together, they've been to school together, through all school together. And they know each other like the back of their hands. And so, for instance, there was already a singer who was sort of the designated singer for that little ensemble. And when I took over as the singer, it was big news in Box Grove, and some people weren't happy with it. Some people really wanted to beat the shit out of me. And so then that bass player was replaced by Rick Jodre.
We're starting to get fairly big. It would have been 80, 81. So we're playing the Edgertons, opening up for Boomtown Rats, Elvis Costello, people like that.
And we did the first show and, of course, toured with them till they packed it in a few years later, a couple of years of touring with Blue Peter. But like I said earlier, they really put our company on the map because as the band was expanding, we had to keep building and expanding to meet the demand of their shows.
Rick Jodre is very plugged into all those people, very good friends with Dave Jodre, of course, Kenny Layton, Ig, and then there's a mountain of those guys. And they eventually became friends with me too.
So it was a lot of fun like that, but it was also great to have these people still that I could go animal with.
Box Grove was sort of the outside community. Like I said, there was a lot of poverty in Box Grove. There was lots of wealthy people as well, but there wasn't lots of anybody, but it was so small. And they all had to go to the main high school, which had about 2,000 people.
And, yeah, Box Grove, it was a big laugh. Yeah, you lived in Box Grove. And they do stuff in the announcements like, the Box Grove library is closed today. The book has been borrowed.
So even the school would cut up Box Grove. They were the brunt of the jokes, and there was sort of this sort of whole, if you're from Box Grove, you're probably late and you're probably stoned sort of attitude from the school itself even. So these guys they were the underdogs, and maybe that's why they stuck together so much.
We didn't care. We were proud of it anyway. We were proud to come from there because, our parents came or one side of us came from there before, and wherever you come from, you got to be proud of it.
They were also way more fun than everybody else.
I don't wake up with hangovers anymore. I don't have that much trouble finding the door. But I still got people laughing at my curls. I don't sleep with as many girls. I'm abstainer. Do it? No, I don't do it. I don't smoke, don't drink, don't do illegal herbs. Don't do it? No, I don't do it. Abstainer.
That was at that stage.
Yeah, crazy.
So the second year I went up, and I just had the greatest time. It was really hot and really dusty, so everybody's throat was totally done in, but there was a certain kind of freedom, and we were all really young. We were all in our, at that point anyways, the people, that first group of people at Iggstock, we were all in our 20s, and everybody was doing drugs, and it was like about 60% of the people there were probably high on acid. Hi, I'm Terry Young, and this is my whatever. I've been to every Iggstock except for the very first one, and I wish that I'd been to it. And it just gets better every year, and it's wonderful, and I'm really glad to be here.
A build up to every Labor Day weekend. I'm thinking about music. I think about the drugs that I'm going to do up there. I'm thinking about preloading everything to get it to there.
You took my roll of papers, man. Give me back my rolling papers.
Oh, it was tiny back then, 50, 60 people the first couple of years.
No, but then it quickly got...
But it grew. It did. By the 5th year, it was huge. Originally there was a gate here, and then they kind of moved the gate up. But the gate, we used to, if you look, there's remains. And there was a little stage we built where that bucket there is. And Friday night, when people were arriving, we did it, just the 1 year? Did we do it a couple of years?
Couple of years.
Friday night was the sort of the gate party as people are arriving, and of course everybody had a story because for us it was a long way away.
So I normally go up around the Tuesday and get myself worked in for the weekend, and then people start arriving every single day, double, and then Friday would be crazy. I'd just be like, where are you gonna put those tents? What are you gonna do with that? Like, I go to the washroom there. I make sure that spot over there is where I like to go and think by myself, or, just crazy stuff like that.
No. But you know what? At the crossroads of the Twilight Zone, that's where it all happened. There's an intersection, and the rock goes up, and and the sun came in at 10 o'clock in the morning. And that's where people would meet.
And this is Kevin's famous, infamous perhaps, campsite right here. This is where everybody would gather.
You'd get right up over the crest, you'd get right in the little pathway at the top, and there was the biggest party you have ever been to that didn't stop.
And then there was those that were just there to experiment, and they stayed in the Twilight Zone, which sort of was for people that weren't going to bed, and bucket tokes and all that sort of party fun.
Kevin Brown's campsite.
The Kevin Brown.
Yeah, it was Twilight Zone, Kevin Brown's campsite.
Yeah, it was Kevin Brown, which morphed into Kevin Brown, Scott Brown. It was just a huge mass of party people.
You wouldn't get much sleep there at all because there's 24-hour music. If you wanted to sleep, you might as well forget it. And there's plus that other guy that used to blow the horn.
That's what kept me up.
Yeah, every hour on the hour, this guy go.
I remember we started camping back further, and then we could kind of, make our way over to that zone. But then, yeah, as the years went on, we just kind of kept sneaking our way closer and closer, and then we ended up right in the Twilight Zone.
Yeah, and then the last few years, I think we
moved back, slowly started moving back.
It was a little bit too crazy.
Jeff Burton and Heather had a trailer that somehow Kim and I bought, and then it became our trailer, and we used it for a few years, and then the chassis or something broke, we couldn't drive it anymore, and Kevin bought it off us, and then it became Kevin's trailer, and he just left it at Iggstock.
This is what happened when Kevin Brown delivers the bad karma up at Iggstock. This kind of thing happens. All that's left is his little ball.
Kevin had that old school Jayco camper.
Yeah, and Kevin upped the ante. That's one thing about Kevin Brown, he upped the ante every year.
Yeah.
And that which is awesome, and he was such a huge part of it. Just with, he'd show up and he'd have the hard top trailer all decked out, and.
Yeah,
and,
I just remember 20 of us piled in there, and it was pouring rain, but we didn't care. It was so fun.
Yeah, so Kevin can see this.
Tell Kevin that the biggest tree on the property fell on the remains of his trailer, just sort of.
At least he wasn't in it.
And he would go once a year and camp in this trailer that was full of mouse shit and raccoon poo and my toxic God, it was horrible, but that would be his campsite.
But he can still come and clean his garbage up, Kevin.
Yeah, there was lots of garbage. Oh, there, we needed a new kettle up in the cookery.
There, Kevin, thank you.
I'd been on mushrooms for 3 days. So there I am shitting bubbles and green foam when I shit all over my pants because I was so fucked up. So I open the door and I look out and all I hear is, "Hey, Kev! Hey, Kev!" So I pull my green pants up and slam me and all, and I just go, and I run the other way, and I run through the forest and through the forest and through the forest to the lake down there, the other lake, the one with no edge, the one with the trees and everything, and just green foam running every up and down. People think yeah, Kev's fine, he had it, he's fucked. And I swim and scrub up, and then I come up, oh my gosh. Kumbaya, people. Oh my God.
That was the thing. First comers could never handle it. They would always get too drunk. They'd pack a couple cases of 24 and maybe a dozen eggs, nothing else, And
people started bringing their kids out. Well, once they got old enough to have kids, and it's this was just weird kids at Iggstock. It was oh shit, what are we gonna do? So they had a separate campsite, family camping, they called it.
I first went as a kid, and I 84, 85 maybe, and I would have been like 6 or 7 years old, running around sort of thing, just listening to music and loving it. You know, at the same time, it was a pretty crazy event, but it was kid-friendly as well. I mean, there weren't any problems that way.
They would have organized activities in the family zone, because the family zone was not something that I ventured into very often. Often camped there, but didn't stay there during the day or night, just went there to sleep. The family zone, they really held their own. They had huge tents and huge playgrounds, and all the kids would know each other, and they knew the boundaries and they knew where to go, and they would just understand.
I've been here. No, okay, this is my 6th year. It's pretty rad. No, more than that. No, I came in grade 2, and then I came this year, last year, year before, year before, year before. There must be someone like me, sitting lonely as I put up there. Oh, all nights like these, feel like falling to my knees, feel like calling heaven release. Find my love.
Yeah, I remember that was the first time that I ever heard rock music, and that was really exciting. And I took an instant liking to it, absolutely.
So yeah, I went to school with Joe Grainne, and it was one of those things. Joe was like, you know, this happens every year, you have to come, and we went, and yeah, it was quite the experience.
We went to school with Joe, and his dad was in Tanglefoot. So we jammed at Joe's place, you know, every day of the week. So we were always around when Tanglefoot was rehearsing, and you know, they played there as well. So just through that crowd, we kind of just started going up there. I think we went up there a couple times before Iggstock, our first Iggstock, and just camped and hung out.
We had Joe Grainne Jr. in our band, who's a great friend of ours.
Like 15 or 16, I started bringing up friends from high school and stuff, and then we were sort of playing together, so I brought them up, and then Christian and Hardington and Stephen Milroy and his brother Scott Milroy.
I ended up at Iggstock through Joe Grainne Jr. I was about 16, and he just said, you know, my family has this concert we go to every year, and I was just starting to, you know, drink and starting to party and things like that.
So he brought us up, and the first year that I was there, I think, which was Adam and Brad's second year, you know, we were bound and bent, and they were anyways, that we were going to definitely play. I think they were going to play the first year, but something happened. They didn't end up making it to the stage.
Started playing shows and stuff, and called ourselves Groundswell. And the first show that we ever actually, well, the first show that we were going to play was at Iggstock.
We just started a band with Joe Grainne Jr. and Adam Gonche, who then was playing drums and singing. And we were a three-piece, and I think we knew like 3 songs. So Joe said, you know, come on up and we'll play at Iggstock, and we've never played in front of anybody.
We decided we wanted to play on that stage really bad because it was just looked like so much fun, and so we decided that we were gonna play Iggstock, and we called, I believe we called Igg's wife in advance, you know, to line it up and make sure everything was cool that we played that week, you know, that weekend sometime, and she gave us a slot, and we watched all the bands play on Saturday, and then Sunday rolled around, and we all got stage fright.
We actually chickened out from playing. We were gonna play 3-song set, and yeah, it came our time, and everybody just kind of split, and we were just nervous. We'd never played a show, and then actually the next year we came back as Groundswell and played, you know, one of our first bigger shows, and Yeah, it was great. It was a great experience, and the crowd, you know, was really cool, and I think that kind of motivated us to keep going and going. So it was definitely a big part in our music career.
It was like nothing that I had ever seen before, you know. It was pretty much, you know, we were pretty young, and it was one of the things that really sealed the deal, that playing outdoors, you know, in the open sky to a bunch of people that are just having a good time is like one of the best feelings in the world.
Pretty much my first experience getting on stage and performing and putting on a show for, you know, a whole bunch of people, yeah.
Of course, 3 Days Grace came out of there, right? They were so proud that those guys came out of the Iggstock inertia.
And we played around for a few years. We cut a CD and stuff like that, and didn't really go anywhere. And I left for school, I think, around '97. And eventually, they went back to a three-piece where it was just Adam, Brad, and Neil, and they changed the name to 3 Days Grace. And they slugged it out for another at least 5 years after I left, and finally got the record contract. So if you're asking about what does it take, definitely perseverance, absolutely, and they definitely had that.
For us, we haven't really changed as people, you know. I think we're just busier, you know. I don't know. That's a tough question. I don't think we ever look at ourselves being famous.
You know, I grew up with Brad from 3 Days Grace and Groundswell days, so they had gone up to play because Joe Grant Sr. had Tanglefoot and had the studio. That's where Groundswell recorded their first thing. So they just got invited to go up their first year, and they came back and were blown away. They're like, this is the most awesome place ever.
My sister talked about it for years, and I'd always wanted to go. I bugged her to go every year, and she said, oh, you're too young, you're too young. I guess she very well knew what went on, so she held it off, and so '99 was the first year I went.
The progression got sort of like our sort of play got bigger and bigger every year. And then, so there was a mix between sort of, you had the first generation big stockers, and then the second generation big stockers.
Well, through my brother, Brad waltzed, and the Groundswell guys, Brad always would go every year and come home and tell me about it, and like growing up, I always wanted to go. And then when I was 17, I think I went for the first time, and then I didn't stop going until it ended. I was actually the last artist to play at Iggstock. We're the last band on the last night, so.
Yeah, it's crazy. You know, my brother's band, My Darkest Days, just got a U.S. record deal, and they're touring in the States right now. And another, Cale Gonche, who lives in Norwood, is Adam's cousin. He just got a record deal, and they're about to go out in the States. So it's pretty crazy. You know, it's a town of 1,300 people, and you know, to have 3 major signed acts out of Norwood is pretty crazy.
It must have been Saturday morning or Saturday afternoon. They'd do these huge poetry things, and of course you got a bunch of drug addicts hanging around the campsite going poetry, but they were just so much fun, and they'd come through the campsite ringing bells and carrying flags and signs, and then it was just sort of like, well, it's on the agenda, we got to go to the poetry reading.
That was my favorite part. Like, for an old guy like me, the music was actually too loud. Like, I used to have to put stuff in my ears, you know. But yeah, the poetry section was my favorite part.
Poetry Hill! Rhythm and rhyme, it's poetry time. Cut through the bush and down the hill, you think it's another man's time. But Igg's making it shine. The cars up there had better beware, for that little voice will echo there. You think this is a concert bowl half filled with people's souls. By listening to what you hear and applauding with no fear, Igg had made it that year, and without a tear in no fear, for this is the 25th year.
There were many people who spoke at the poetry session who weren't what you'd call like real poets, but they could express themselves wonderfully and brilliantly. You know, they'll never be published, but they'd get up on this lectern, you know, and have a few beers and lose their inhibitions and say these wonderful things. It was great.
The poetry, I swear, my kids to this day love poetry, because when they were little kids, we would take them to this insane poetry reading where it'd be like there'd be people throwing things and the whole crowd would be chanting along with the choruses, and And Dwight would get up and do poetry. Dwight.
Okay. I'm gonna do it like this guy. Acid rain and cocaine snow. Taxpayers' money, where does it go? Hawaiian vacation, say hi to Don Ho, the sinister Prime Minister. We have no dollar. We have no defense. I bought Mila a Mercedes-Benz. TST, it makes no sense. The sinister Prime Minister. He's number one on my shit list. How many asses has he kissed? If you hate him too, raise your fist. The sinister Prime Minister. One of these times, we'll get it right. All it takes is serious insight. Next election, vote for Dwight.
Yeah, we are the new Rob News. We've been there since 1983. We're gonna rock you for the next hour.
But we used to do sound for Blue Peter, and that was one of the things they got involved in was Iggstock, and we thought, well, we have to go do this, and it was just such a cool festival. We had to keep doing it and find a way that we could keep sending the gear out, as the company grew.
All the gear, it was the same gear, and it went up and did the Iggstock. So it was the brother who, I think it was the brother of Rob Sandalovich.
Dave just took a liking to Denby, as we all did in the area, and he liked Ig, and we all got along well together. So he would take his holidays off, and he would come and work the show, basically for nothing. They were just the rental of their gear, but they'd supply 2 men, and it was really low cost.
Dave eventually got out of the business, but he would get together and do Iggstock every year anyways. He sold the company to me and continued. He went on to become a machinist, and he moved up north to a small farm, but he would still every year come into Toronto, get the truck, and go do the show.
But then he was killed in a car crash not too long after that. So a couple years or so he lived up there. And then Dave's brother Rob, he just felt it an honoring his brother to carry this on.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the reasons we kept doing the show after Dave passed away. It was such a big part of his year, and what he had fun doing.
Then the bands rolled in, and the stage happened, and it was just an incredible experience seeing all these guys.
I wrote it all to play up at Iggstock. Because I knew the next year I was going to be going up there to play. I knew I was never going to really make it big. Because my calling is running a bulldozer. I'm not a musician, I'm a bulldozer operator.
A lot of people used Iggstock as a sort of a point or a date to create a new project, to bring things together that they might only have ever performed at Iggstock.
I spend the better part of every day clocking up 11 hours to collect a little pay. And I do it all in a different way if I ever had the chance to choose it. But the day is done, I feel alright. I might like to stay up and play all night. But have a lot of fun and we'll get a little tight with a little bit of homemade music.
Iggstock was a good opportunity to try other things, to experiment. So we put together some sort of group, a small group, and tried some stuff out.
like I was involved in a blues band, New Raw Blues, for a little while that, you know, still carried on for quite a long time after I left the group. But, you know, New Raw Blues, I think, in a lot of ways, it was sort of for Iggstock.
Show at 1 o'clock sharp. The gospel show. Come down and get saved and be entranced by the love of nature and by the celestial seasonings that go on in our minds.
Sunday was sort of quiet time, acoustic jam. It started in the morning with a little bit of there was a gospel sort of feel to it, but it was a perfect spot to sleep for that hour.
He would get his guitar or just get the mic and start preaching about Jesus and all this. It was more or less a joke at first, but people started coming every Sunday to watch Kenny do his big speech about nothing.
The good man said, Lord, why did you not pick me up and carry me when I had all these trials and tribulations?
The Cadavers were like a punk rock band that were hardcore kind of. They always try to, you know, make trouble or whatever just for fun, right?
There's a bunch of cadavers in front of you out whittling crosses with big daggers, whittling crosses and
burning crosses
in front of you. Then you really want to go.
Burning of the cross. The Cadavers showed up and they interrupted the gospel hour with a little sort of, I can't remember what they were playing, but they were having a good time.
Oh yeah, I forget all. I think I ended up saving them at the end of it all, but it was pretty neat.
But they had to make a sacrifice.
They sacrificed.
They sacrificed the one guy's wife to me.
Yeah, that's right.
In what way?
That's Heather. That's Heather
was married to
the
one
Cadaver.
I believe in God's up from the ground and then the Lord comes tumbling down. Everybody got a place in Denby. Everybody gotta believe it's Sunday. Everybody will have a place so when the Lord comes tumbling down. I believe in you and you. I believe you gotta do what you do. I believe.
You've had your hour nap, so climb back up the hill just in time and then spin some drunk chick around for a little while to let her hit it open, and then everyone would spark up a joint.
The joint pinata, everyone would just put doobies and whatever in it, and everyone smashes it on the Sunday, and it was just, I don't know, just so communal.
I have a great picture of Matt
Yeah,
with about 8 joints in his mouth.
And when she's like, we're gonna make a paper mache joint pinata, and everyone's gonna put their joints in it. It's gonna be awesome.
And everyone would just, all weekend. You get there, if you got there Thursday, if you got there Friday, you would just go along and leave a little bit of hash or a little bit of pot, or maybe you would work for an hour or two.
So we'd load it up, and then people would take turns smashing the pinata, and then when it broke, everybody was like a mad dash. Everyone dived in the pile of joints, and then everyone was just wailed for the whole night, actually.
Sunday, it's close to 1 o'clock, 12 o'clock. I haven't swam or washed my hair or anything since Thursday. The water was rejuvenating. It made my voice better, and I think I'll be able to sing again tonight. I hated I wasn't got shifted onto the Sunday nights because the big bands went on the Saturday nights, and they would have a band meeting thing where all the bands got together and say, you go here, you go there, nah. I'd always get shafted on the Sunday night, and I'd bitch about it and say, I'm going to be too confused by Sunday night to play.
Dwight, as you know, he suffers from a lot of abuse. Some of it self-inflicted, but over the years, I've inflicted a fair bit of it too. And you know how he repays me? He brings me this wonderful annoyance toy. Don't think you're gonna sleep it off tonight. I'm staying up all night. So, Dwight.
Ig, I never burnt down the stage.
And they would say, Dwight, if it wasn't for you playing on this Sunday night, nobody would come down on the stage.
1 more 2 4. Should have bought a 2 4. I only bought a 12. I left the big one sitting on the shelf.
We were pumped to see the Dwights every year, you know, what Dwight was going to wear.
His headgear.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah.
In my mind.
Everyone loved the Dwights. All the girls would go stand behind him while he played.
Yeah, the Dwights were always a favorite.
We love the Dwights. I mean, we were big fans of all their songs, and I to this day, Dwight still bugs us and says, you know, if you ever want to, you know, use one of my songs, it's free. You can use it, you can record it, put it on the radio. But yeah, we were huge fans of the Dwights.
I want a color TV, I got black and white. They cut my cable, my neighbor's got satellite. Possessions are like that, go big or stay at home. They came and took my stuff, I couldn't pay the loan. Should've bought a 2 4, I only bought a 12. I left the big one sitting on the shelf. I bought a dozen just in case we...
And you were bragging about this fucking cool cat, Kevin Brown, and you gotta meet him because he is so beyond fly and my idol, and you gotta come with me and experience this.
Kevin Brown. Watching Kevin Brown, he's the best guitar player I've ever seen play live.
Kevin Brown, the legend of Kevin Brown. You haven't seen anyone play guitar until you've seen Kevin Brown. That's my ultimate memory of Iggstock.
He's awesome though. Seeing him play sometimes is scary because just be soloing out and like he's like so scary looking. I thought like when I was younger, like 17, 18.
So I bought her a moon ring and she married Bob. Love is like that, go big or stay at home. Shattered hearts and dreams and you'll be left all alone. Ah. Should've bought a 2 4. Should've bought a 2 4. Should've bought a 2 4. I should've bought a 2 4. I should've bought a 2 4. Should've bought a 2 4. Should've bought a 2 4.
There was a couple of years it poured rain the whole time. Pouring rain, everything. But it went on. We did it, you know. 2 o'clock in the morning, just rain, thunderstorms. It was incredible. I mean, total chaos. I was on LSD. It didn't really bother me that much.
Wettest tear down, the coldest morning after.
I slept in my tent in my full rain coverall, and it was so wet, like everything was just mud soaked.
And
we had deathly hot years when the place just about burned down. I was coming up that Friday. I was late that year because I had other engagements. Coming up that Friday, you know, fire ban on anywhere, dry as dust. And I'm just pulling into Denby, and I see the fire truck pulling in to the fire, and right away I thought, they were out at Iggstock.
Somebody threw a cigarette butt down when it was dry season and lit the place up, and we were all running. Me and Kev were out getting water bottles to try to help out.
Running away.
We're down at the stage. We're working on the stage, and they're yelling. We can't tell what they're yelling. We're, fuck off. We're yelling back at them. Fuck off. And then all of a sudden it's like, there's a fire. Oh, shit. And you just feel like your body, something goes through it like that.
It was a bit down the hill, but fairly close to everybody's tents.
And it was like, it was weird. Never really picture what a fire in a forest looks like. It was just like everything on the ground is on fire. Like, oh shit, you know.
And I just panicked. I just went, fire! And ran and grabbed my cooler, and people were scrambling. People had kids.
He told me he'd given up. They were there they had coolers, they're throwing it on. And he just got out of hand. He said he ran panicking out, telling fire, get out, it's coming.
You know, the fire was actually pretty big. People were running for their lives.
And you know, somehow the fire department came in and they got it out. I don't know how. I put the fire out.
Oh yeah?
Oh yeah, I saved Iggstock. When you see the area was burned, you know, it was an area bigger than this house that had burned in a tinder dry bush. Until I stopped what I was doing, went running down the hill and around this little corner. I mean, 12 feet of fire all around. I grabbed a stick, I jumped right off this rock and landed right inside of it and started beating the fire, putting it out. And other people started getting into it.
Our friend Neil, the drummer of 3 Days Grace, he had a tattoo that Grainne had drawn on his arm with just some body paint, and it was a big heart with an arrow through it. It said the Dwights on it.
And I see Neil and Dwight facing each other, stamping out the fire, right? And all of a sudden Neil looks at Dwight and goes, Dwight! Dwight goes, what? And he lifts up his sleeve and it says Dwight on it. It's like something out of a movie. And they're like, Dwight's like, right on. And they both high-fived each other.
Stamping out the forest fire. We're saving Denby and the northern woods.
Igg's the guy over there. If you haven't met Igg yet, he's the guy with the hat on. That's the man. He cleared all this land with his hands, planted the trees, and then cut them down again.
Igg's just different. Like I don't know, he's just always constant. He's very sensible in a very unlikely way. Like, you know, like he has the ideas that are sort of wrong, but you sort of trusted him. You know what I mean? Like, Igg's really one of the coolest people I know.
So everybody found a nice, comfortable spot to get their tents pitched, and I
guess I can't complain.
But what they were doing was great. What they were doing. And I think that with Bob having the Iggstock, and Ken Layton was always the one that always would thank us for having them on our property to produce this music at Iggstock.
Very few people would just say, yeah, that can work. And he made it work. He knew it could work. He knew that people get together, and he never stops, you know, cutting down trees. Like the whole weekend, he's driving up and down the driveway. His presence is always known. It's always there. And not a lot of people would, you know, sort of let all those people, you know, set up great big generators and drum kits and massive fires and people partying all night long. There's a lot of liquor there, you know. Like.
I looked out and everybody there was like just, I couldn't really add to that. It was,
they were bowing to the Igg man.
It was great. It was just, keep it going.
A state of enhanced humanity is how I would put it.
And Igg had that way about him because he was like the philosopher king. A philosopher king artist with this strength, and it's his place, and you don't mess with if Igg's gonna talk to you, something's happened, you know, some law's been broken, some natural law. So that was bad if Igg was talking, and you watch it, and people would behave much better after Igg talked to them.
It was something that people went away with wanting to return because it was just the most beautiful experience that they'd ever had.
Anybody that sees this was the best Iggstock. Thanks everybody for coming. It was a booming time. Let's go.
Well, we had Terry Young and Tanglefoot and the wonderful 3 Days Grace. They all performed upon this stage and gave us amazing space. We're so happy that we've got these memories to share with all you people today. And hope you come back to celebrate again and again. I said, knock, knock, we're at Iggstock, celebrating 25 years. I said, knock, knock, we're at Iggstock. Don't you drink too many more beer. Whoa, no, no.
We've got something to present to Ig and Heather here for all their hard work and putting up with us over the years. And
I looked forward to it every year, and since it's been gone, it's like every time it comes around, you're like, you're missing something. Something's wrong, you know.
Felt like it would be impossible to maintain it. Be impossible to maintain such a sweetness, because wouldn't bad influences want to start coming in?
I think that core group of people just were still there, but it obviously expanded, and the new people coming didn't really understand what it was about.
I wish Iggstock still existed, because it would definitely still be my every year. That's my birthday, like Labor Day weekend's my birthday weekend, and in turn our anniversary. So it has a lot of meaning. Like it brings back a lot of memories for me, and I wish it was still around.
I think we all grew up and matured a bit. We all sort of thought, oh, life is rather fragile. You can't do acid and light fires and drive cars all at once. So
people that were starting to go, the younger generation, they sort of seemed to think that it was just sort of, it fell out of the sky that way. You know, the woods out in the middle of nowhere that you had to take all these roads through the woods to, just all of a sudden had outhouses and had a bandstand and had this and that. And that's just not the way it was. It took years to get it that way, you know, years of everybody cooperating, years of people coming early, a week early and stuff to help build things.
People start coming, you invite them from work, and they don't know who Ig is. You know, it sort of took the Ig out of stock.
There's this great deal of talent going on. These people are really good at what they become very good at what they're doing. They're really good singers, songwriters, musicians.
I know everybody that I went to public school with. I still know them. But all these people come in, all these different communities, and all of a sudden it's sort of like easy to drift apart. But because of the bands and Iggstock and the music, it has kept us all sort of together.
I was just thinking this morning to myself about Box Grove, you know, that it's gone. You know, you said you came from Box Grove. It's the buildings are there, but the community spirit is gone.
and it's not really. It's just like an intersection now in part of the city.
It's changed. It's not Box Grove. It's Scarborough or Toronto or something, but it's not the place I grew up.
If you drive from certain angles, when you drive through, it looks exactly the same except for the 12 million houses around the outskirts now. And the odd man with the turban that you never used to see riding his bicycle down.
Well, Markham and that whole area, it's all changed into a mega Chinatown and also bordering with a mega India.
But it's change in progress, but I hate it.
I don't like change. I don't like watching change happen that isn't done with any form of sensibility. You know, dewatering and then making everything all flat and then putting 400 houses of this, you know, that are going to last 2 minutes and all the woodland. They don't have to do that.
You look at that new subdivision in Box Grove. I mean, the sign might say it's a community. It's not a community. It's a bunch of people, which does not a community make, you know. So that these people working on Iggstock, that is the Iggstockers. That was a community.
In the big extended family, that was the Markham Box Grove scene back in those days. Everyone had their place. Everyone found their niche and had their labels and could say, "I'm this." Well, if you take them out of that, they could just sort of dissipate to who knows what. Or maybe that's the fear that they would dissipate.
With all the colors
I think a lot of us got stuck. I mean, I think I was stuck. I think if, in all honesty, I mean, I think if I didn't get asked to join a group at a sort of a critical time, to join Tanglefoot at a critical time in my life, then I would be a teacher.
Yeah, so Iggstock's coming up. July the 31st, August 1st, 2009. We have our Iggstock here. And we started it in 05. The year it was the last year of Iggstock. So kind of kept it going here, so it didn't really die per se, you know what I mean?
So can you ever recapture something like that again? Never. You'll never draw people. There's lines that have been drawn. There's friends that were made. Maybe they talk on Facebook. Maybe they still get together. I really don't.
I'm going to the studio next week, actually. And I'm recording with Mo Berg from The Pursuit of Happiness. And actually, Adam and Neil from 3 Days Grace are helping me on the album too, which is really cool.
3 Days Grace, we're touring right now. We did a lot of summer festival shows. We're about to go out again in the fall for 6 or 7 weeks, and then I think we're going to start writing the next album, our 4th album.
We've done a couple shows with Stone Temple Pilots, which was, they were a huge influence on me when I was younger, and Alice in Chains, another band that was a huge influence on me growing up.
Yeah, I mean, we've just been kind of really bearing down and working as hard as we can, you know.
Every year people say, "Where's Ig? How come Ig isn't?" Well, you know, he's busy up in the bush and doesn't like to get away much. Doesn't like to leave home too much, but oh, maybe this year we'll get him down.
Because this is where I'm going to do my golfing down here. Ken and I will be golfing in our old age right up through here.
I already golf at home every night if I want, Ig.
Success is what you get out of it, not who you are, or how big you are, or how much you've done, or where you've played. It's, are you still playing? And do you really love it, you know? And is that what you do in your living room 3 nights a week? And
I think it maybe just taught us to be passionate about our music, you know, and I think, like everybody there, they were very passionate about what they were doing, and I think that definitely rubbed off on us.
I don't know, if Iggstock wasn't there, I don't, like, it has been a big influence on my career and what I'm doing now, like, we're starting to get a lot of fans. We have a bunch of songs done. We're coming up on getting a record deal, and like, it's crazy. Like, I don't know if that wasn't there, then would this be happening? I don't know.
So it's pretty surreal, you know, to have, you know, his band and 3 Days Grace together in the same charts. As, you know, my dad phones me every week. Oh, you guys are, you know, 2 positions apart on the chart. It's just amazing, and they're pretty proud, you know.
Iggstock was a weekend. I treated it as a way of life. And every day was the party. Every day.
Never hasn't stopped
I
since.
just go to Iggstock, I come back, and it's still Iggstock. My house became Iggstock.
I don't have a problem with telling anybody that I'm an alcoholic, like, and I don't have any problem with telling people that I did drugs, you know, and that I don't have any problem telling people I made mistakes and messed up things. So I don't feel like I'm an insecure person at all.
I just got lost in the drugs and everything, right? So it didn't mean for it to happen. I just wasn't strong enough to, you know, I was too weak.
I had my demons going on at that time too. I was massively alcoholic. And so that worked well. That worked well for a while. And then it worked well in that community as well as being in the band. And after a while, it sank me.
But I do miss playing. I really miss playing, actually. I haven't played in front of anybody now in a year and a half. That's a long time.
I spent a lot of time talking about getting high and talking about all the things that I wanted to do. And it wasn't until I got straight that I actually started doing things.
I'm really working hard on my recovery, or I have to work hard. To me, it just seems like I'm just getting out of high school. because it's just a non-stop blur since then.
You know, I was really glad to get to know them, because once at first I thought these people are awful, and this is never going to work, and I'm too different, and they don't like me. But eventually that turned around, and I was really glad, because they're the best people I maybe have ever known.
But yeah, we still, at gigs, we'll be playing, and then all of a sudden you'll hear, like, Iggstock!
Iggstock's been for 25 years. Must be close to 1 million beers. The music plays, the people listen. Dwight's lyrics, half are missing. Music's over, locals go home, the party moves to the twilight zone. In the morning, a few are still up. Everyone else is pretty much fucked. People come from up and down to watch the piñata be hit to the ground. What's inside is no surprise. It will give you the worst red eyes. The nighttime comes, coolers are stacked. It's the road or the hill, no turning back. Weekend's almost over, time to move on. Let's all pray Kevin's camper is gone. Ig and Heather, it's been a blast. Thank you for the fantastic past. We will always have memories of Denby. Friends and family will be of envy. It's time to say a fond farewell. For many years, the timing is swell. Yes, it's been 25 years, so let's all raise our glass and cheer. I just want to say that I think from the both of us that we do appreciate the fact that so many people come here and they help each other, they look after each other, they love one another. And that is something in this world that's becoming a rare thing, but we do it here. So I say thank you. And now, the Dwights. Get down! It's Sunday night and I am Dwight and I'll drink till I can't crawl. With the hopes of smashing, maybe bashing someone in a barroom crawl. Well, come on, cheese dick, I'll kick your crown. You gotta get up to get down. Get down.
Thanks a lot, eh?